Talking point. Thanks for staying with us in Talking Points. We are receiving a politician, the National Communication Secretary of the Popular Action Party, the PAP, Fabrice Lena. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila. Once more, it's a great pleasure to be in this platform again. Greetings to Africa, greetings to Cameroonians, and greetings to militants and members of the Popular Action Party and members of the Stand Up for Cameroon movement. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening.
Today is Friday, Black Friday, for members of the Stand Up for Cameroon Civil Society platform, the Popular Action Party, the Cameroon People's Party, the CPP. You guys are fighting for a political transition in Cameroon.
Exactly, we're fighting for a political transition because the actual regime in place has caused a lot of political impasse, pain to the Cameroonian people. We can see it from the numerous massacre killings of Cameroonians, especially the recent one of Gabu that has caused national and international concern for those innocent children killed, murdered in cold blood in Gabu, in the Donga Mountain division of Cameroon. The Popular Action Party and the Stand Up for Cameroon movement condemn these killings with strongest terms, calling that even if not legal proceedings and justice, moral and natural law will take its course to bring those people responsible for the murder of these innocent children into book, because justice has to take its course for these children. Their blood has to call for all these people who murder these children into justice, no matter how it takes. And we are standing strong as representative of the people crying and talking for the voiceless, standing to talk for the voiceless, to stand strong in our movement, to always be with them at all times. That is why today, Friday, we are wearing black, and we are saying no to the killings in Northwest and Southwest, and those responsible should be brought to justice.
You are standing, fighting for the people of Cameroon, fighting for the nation. But just like opposition politicians in Cameroon, Transparency International, Human Rights Watch, other non-governmental organizations have been considered as enemies of the state, people who want to destabilize Cameroon. This is what the Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson said in his last press statement yesterday in reaction to the report of Human Rights Watch on the Garbu incident. What do you think about this stand of government?
Exactly. The government at its Waterloo, because I would say it's Waterloo because the Gabu massacre is actually the immediate cause of the fall of this regime. I'm saying the immediate cause because this is a year of political transition, and we are very sure about this because when the government stands to defend itself from propositions that is very glaring, open to the national and international community, everyone sees the evidence against the government and they keep defending themselves. It's just to tell us how the government has lost its credibility, its legitimacy and its legality to its own citizens and to the international community. This is not the first instance of massacre in Cameroon territory in the Northwest and Southwest region. We've had the case of Santa, we've had the case of the baby in Muyuka, we've had the case of the baby and mother in the extreme north of Boko Haram, where the Minister of Communication by then refused and refuted that it was in Mali and not in Cameroon. So the government had always tried to play the defensive role of manipulating the opinion of the naive Cameroonians and gullible to accept that they are not responsible, the army is professional. But this time around, everyone has seen it, that is clear and glaring that the government has faltered in several cases because the government is contradicting itself. It first of all came with pronunciation saying that only 5 persons lost their lives in the Gabu massacre, at the particular time saying the head of state has opened investigations in the Gabu massacre. So you cannot establish conclusions and come into established premises again. It is contradictory, and this self-contradiction of the government gives us the conclusion that the government is ineffective, it has become weak, it has become outdated, and as of now, it's rather very funny that the government of Cameroon is having people who have power but they don't think, and those who have ideas and can think rationally to establish peace, prosperity, and solve the pre-occupying crisis in Cameroon don't have power. That is the paradox.
But the government says that there is an inquiry commission that has been put in place to do some fact-finding in Garbu, in the Donga Mantum division, and to bring out the truth. But the information that was released by the Ministry of Communication and later by the Ministry of Communication and confirmed by Minister Lejeune Belambel of External Affairs before the Commission of the United Nations on Human Rights and so on, were results or preliminary findings of what happened in Garbu. And so the government thinks that all what other people are saying, non-governmental organizations, is intended to destabilize Cameroon because they are said to have influenced
the chief of armed force, wherein I'm not sure as chief of armed force he will bring out investigations and conclusions that will incriminate him, because they had already denied the report of Human Rights Watch that is incriminating them. And he is the state of Cameroon claiming to be sovereign and creating an independent commission, whereas at the same time he goes to Europe giving reports of activities of his country that he's supposed to take responsibility and solve, to another president behaving like a subordinate. And we have noticed that throughout his administration it has been the case. All major issues in the country that had been a problem, especially of the Anglophone people, are being carried out when he must have gone for a meeting, a summit in France. So all these things makes us to conclude that we are not, there is no government actually in Cameroon as of now, because the one in place is a defunct government, is illegitimate, because the people of Northwest and Southwest, not limited there, even of the other parts of Cameroon, do not recognize the president of the republic as the president of Cameroon, do not recognize the state institutions, and this legitimacy, this legitimacy is breached the very moment where those who recognize the government do not have that moral contract of conscience that bind those that are governing and those that govern, because those that are governing do not have control over the people again. The legality of the present regime is government of the government for the government, protected by the military, which does not have the interest of the population, because the interest of the population is reflected in what the population gets in return from electing those that are supposed to govern them. But if the population, its large number within the country are declined, out of the country are declined, do not give peace to those that are governing to govern freely, it means there is a problem. And the question mark here is, what is wrong? Who is wrong? So the government should not justify itself, but rather see what they are not doing that is right, and listen to people. Because I see the government continue saying we are a sovereign nation, this and that. International NGOs are conspiring against the Cameroon government. The Cameroon government has conspired against its own citizens and the people of the southern Cameroons. And no one has questioned them on that.
It should, however, be recalled that according to official statistics, the head of state, Paul Biya, was elected during the October 2018 presidential election with more than 70% of the vote, even though there are you are saying that you of the opposition are saying that there was no election, it wasn't transparent, it wasn't fair, and so on. Now let's talk about the 4 Nobel Peace Prize laureates who have said that the Cameroon government is downplaying the crisis and inciting violence in its statements.
I bear with that declaration of the Nobel Peace Prize laureates, because when you look critically into the Anglophone crisis, there are a lot of people who are benefiting from this crisis, from the violence and the status quo situation in the Northwest and Southwest, that they don't want it to end. And we discover that in as much as the civil society, some genuine political parties, and people of goodwill, friendly countries and international organizations are proposing sincere solutions that could help bring or halt this crisis, the government is carrying only cosmetic solutions Whereas the government is quite aware of what to do. It's not as if they don't know what to do or who to talk with. They know exactly what to do. I must say here that the President of the Republic was the one who abrogated or cancelled and annihilated the treaty that brought together the English-speaking people in his 1984 law. And after this moment, there were Southern Cameroonians, so people from the English-speaking regions, that wrote letters to the presidency that this particular aspect or reform that you've carried out is going to cause serious problems in the future. He gave deaf ears in his early stage of governance. He gave deaf ears in the a period of multipartism. He gave deaf ears when the new constitution was constructed in 1996, which was never implemented up to 2020. That is just to tell you that it is bad faith on the side of the government. They should stop accusing people and rather look upon themselves and ask that what is wrong. At a particular time in life, when everybody is saying that you have a problem, you need to examine yourself. You know, there is one saying that one philosopher once said, an unexamined life is not worth living. It's not for nothing that he said that. What does it mean? The government of Cameroon need to examine its institution and its authorities, whether they are really doing things that reflect the aspiration of the population. I don't think a government constituting a small population, a small category of people, will think that everything they are doing is for the interest of the people, and then the greater number of the population is outcrying. Then there is a problem. So the government of Cameroon should seek for sincere solutions to end the crisis. And if they cannot seek for the sincere solution, they should better resign and give way for a new government, for us to put in place a new government that will rebuild Cameroon. Because as of now, credibility has been completely 0%. As of now, no Cameroonian has credibility again in the present government, its institutions, and any reform that they are carrying out. And that's why the independent inquiry or investigation commission of the president had been widely criticized by Cameroonians throughout today in the social media, in the standard media, in the radio, in the television. Everyone is saying that you cannot investigate your own crimes, and therefore that commission will fail, as all the commissions that have been created for the purpose of this same crisis had failed. So we are moving to the end of a regime. And if you observe carefully, it is the characteristics of the end of dictatorship. This is how Mobutu failed. This is how other African leaders of dictatorship regime failed. And they should accept their fate and better leave Cameroon for Cameroonians to rebuild. Because we, the youth, we feel so bad when we see the President of the Republic masterminding the future of the youth, masterminding the future of those little children, those babies that were killed in cold blood. Do you know what it takes for you to lose a child like that? Lives are precious and priceless, and we should not joke about it. I remember the Ministry of Communication saying that the government was, the Human Rights Watch was quick to establish a report. So we will take 24 years, as they took 24 years to implement decentralization, in order to establish a report about lives of people who are dying, and they are dying on daily basis. You see how they do? They take lives of their own citizens with a lot of levity, triviality. It is appalling, Mr. Babila.
And some are referring to the Garbu incident as the so-called Garbu massacre, prétendu massacre de Garbu.
That's appalling, you know. Yeah, well, people can call that because they are not in that zone. You know, if you are here in Douala or in Yaoundé, you are living freely, eating your food in your house and drinking your beer and sleeping comfortably, especially with a taxpayer's income that you cannot even give accountability of how it's entering into your pocket, then you can say that. But if you are living in those remote areas of the northwest and southwest where people drink a cup of water to sleep, sometimes they sleep in bushes with the mosquito and the cold, you will understand exactly what it takes to suffer. Because those whose family are not in the bushes, those who have not held a dead body of their family member in their hands, die because of this senseless war, will not feel the pain that some of us are feeling from that zone. So I think that if somebody is saying those type of things, it is a person that has no feelings, is a person that does not have heart. Because after all, no matter our divergences and differences, there is the aspect of humanity, solidarity with humanity. Because very soon things will happen in China. We say we solidarize with China who are dying of coronavirus, but in your own country the virus is the people that are governing. The virus is the people that are governing, that is making people to die every day of road accident because of bad roads. People are dying every day because of conflict, because of the interest of politicians. People are dying every day because of
but the same people, the same people you are referring to as virus are working every day in conferences, meetings, discussions, going to the field. Prime Minister, head of government, other authorities,
and
moving through the two Anglophone regions,
I understand,
looking for solutions, providing solutions, asking, meeting people, and so on. So all of that,
it is works that are aimed at manipulating the opinion of the population, because the authorities of Cameroon are ruling Cameroon on the post-colonial 1980-90 modus operandi. They have forgotten to know that we are now in the 21st century, where there is technology, and Cameroonians are no more as naive as their eras were. So there is, first of all, a clash of generation between those who are leading us actually and those who are aspiring for a good Cameroon.
So what do you make of all
the
what do you make of all the efforts of government to solve the security, socio-political, economic, and other problems plaguing the country?
If the efforts of the government were sufficient enough, people will not be in prison. People will not be still dying. They will not be still burning of houses. Or in Yaoundé and Douala, bike riders and petty business holders will be crying of bad roads, and there will be accidents, and mothers dying in the hospital because they were unable to get to bed. That is the responsibility of the government. If those things are still occurring to a greater percentage of more than 50, then the government is doing nothing. But at least when we talk of a responsible government, all these things we've mentioned will be to a lesser percentage. There is no perfect society, we understand, but at the same time, there is a greater extent to which certain vices or things are supposed to occur in the country. But ours is alarming, it's appalling, it's a matter of death on daily basis. So we called on Cameroonians as the Popular Action Party, and we have stood our grounds ever since 2011, 2013 elections, that no credible elections can ever take place in Cameroon under the CBDM regime. And we have also reiterated that let Cameroonians stand up for Cameroon, because the main problem of Cameroon is the mere regime. It is that particular regime and the president in power who has stayed for so long that is causing a lot of pain in the heart of Cameroonians, that they cannot support anything that is coming from there. And even if they propose genuine solutions to anything now today, Mr. Babila, I'm telling you, people will not welcome it because they are still existing.
Fabrice Lena, National Communications Secretary of the PAP, what do you think about the new configuration of the lower house of parliament, with the CPDM having an overwhelming majority, 139 out of 180 seats, and the other political parties coming with 7, 5, 4, 2, and so on?
Continuity of repression, arbitrary arrests, continuity of socio-political hardship, inflation. Those are the characteristics of CBDM domination in the parliament for the past 38 years. What do you expect? What do you expect? The opposition had not been able to impose anything. We have been living in political impasse, underdevelopment for these past years. And if they continue to dominate in the parliament, it means that it is the ideology of the CBDM party that will continue to reign in the parliament. And their ideology is to amass as much wealth as possible for those people who have succeeded to enter into the CBDM party by whatever means they know, and maintain, sustain, and retain power till they do us part.
Fabrice Lena, National Communications Secretary of the Popular Action Party, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila, for giving me the opportunity to express myself and stand for my people. I want to say this to youth, that we are in a sensitization program called Building the People's Power. Let's build the people's power, because it is the people first. Always the people first. Nothing about the people without the people, all for the people.